In Sonic Frontiers, you'll experience an adventure like no other through the eyes of a hedgehog named Son Sonic. With 5 years since the last mainline Sonic game that was very good, I assure you, the Sonic team was bound to create a quality and worthwhile experience. Like many of you, I'm a Sonic fan, so regardless of your opinions, I'll be feeding you propaganda for the next 40 minutes. You see, this game is home to all of my strongest emotions. Regret, sorrow, what the fuck? And of course, the bedtime horny demon. Despite all of that, I love the game, not because it's good, but because I'm bad. Listen, I promise the Frontier stuff is on the way, but first we're gonna have to get through the real Sonic gameplay. The first stage of Sonic Frontiers is the first stage of Sonic Frontiers, and it makes sure you don't forget it by directly copying the layout of Windmill Isle from Sonic Unleashed, without the stuff that made it good. The problems with this stage are representative of a larger issue, so for now I'll shelf the topic and pretend I wrote a seamless transition into the intro. Your adventure through Sonic Frontiers begins on Kronos Island, where Sonic is a little bit fatigued from all that unique game design. Just like my beloved Pokemon Legends Arceus, Sonic decides to deliver its gameplay mechanics via Infobox. Couldn't have figured that one out. Immediately, they use an info box to demonstrate the first puzzle by telling me the solution. I hate to say it, but that's not a puzzle. That's how they treat our children nowadays. Am I right, fellow retrophiles? I remember when I was a boy, you could shoot your neighbor's wife and the only thing you had to do to prove your innocence was shoot him too. The combat in this game is not fun. It's clunky, shallow, and repetitive. And the game is rated E? This is child labor. The skill tree has the potential to make it more fun over time. Too bad I unlocked almost half of it before the tutorial was over. Shit really grinds my gears. Hey. I know it seems grim, but if you put the worst section of the game at the very beginning, then it can only get better. It gets better, right? Sonic the Battle Frontier had a lot to make up for as the replacement to Sonic Forces. God knows Team Sonic Racing isn't doing the job. Now, for context, I'm an open world baby. Slap those funny little words on your Steam page and I might as well write you into my will, cause my money is already yours. There was no better feeling for me than seeing that Nintendo was gonna return Zelda to the open world, or when I saw the first trailer for Ghost of Tsushima. Playing Skyrim as a child or Red Dead 2 as a high schooler, shit puts blood in my penis. So when they announced that my childhood love for Sonic the Hedgehog was gonna collide with the open world format, you'd be able to guess my opinions, right? Well, no. I saw people excited about it, but as soon as I heard, I just wondered, why? I just couldn't imagine Sonic T. Hedgehog running around the Skyrim map. But that was the mistake I was making. I was trying to imagine how Sonic would change to work in an open world, when I should have been trying to figure out how an open world would change to work with Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. I wouldn't discover what it was all about until I took my first steps into the open fields of Kronos Island.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sonic Frontiers. Today, I'm gonna be speedrunning that big fucking thing right in front of me. Alright, that's a split. You just golden. Watch this line. Alright, that's world record. I'm gonna go fuck my dog.
During your stay here, you will become accustomed with the mechanics of the game, discover interesting pieces of lore, and if you're lucky, you will find Amy Rose. Held on multiple counts of harassment, she will be jailed and likely executed due to her voice acting performance in Adventure 2.
Amy Rose is here!
Justice does not kneel to the forgetful nature of time, Amy. Sonic would love to see Amy perish, but he'll have to find a way to free her as he's never felt the touch of a woman. Scattered across Kronos Island, you will find exploration incentive. Fueled by the prospect of female contact, collect tokens to progress the story, as it's unlocked gradually when you trade these tokens for cutscenes marked by the lifeless souls of your friends. And if you're not into that like geek shit, you can always just nuts I loop a bunch. Sonic Frontiers is not a game made for babies. Therefore, you'll have to find the story for yourself. Too bad you won't find it very interesting. With the proper restitution paid, you will feel the warmth of a woman's touch, but in exchange you must contract a small amount of HIV. That's right, the antagonist of Frontiers is AIDS. Just wait until you see the insurance plan. This is America, after all. As you've just seen, Frontiers takes a semi-non-linear approach to progression, and as a result, you can take the game at the pace you'd like. The problem is how Sonic Team defines non-linearity for a Sonic game. Frontiers pushes you to spread your wings, but struggles to let go. You can collect as many items and unlock as many locations as you'd like, but no matter what, you're gonna have to go back to where you started and follow the story exactly the way you were intended to. And I really hope you've been unlocking the story as you go, because if you haven't, well, grab a snack, cause your showing of Sonic Frontiers starts in 5.
Thank you, Doctor.
You see, the difficulty here is keeping the game installed. Now, on the topic of changing Sonic's core gameplay, let's discuss his speed. I can't remember a time when Sonic felt slower. What I assume had to have been a decision to limit your ability to miss the details of the world ends up making Sonic feel more sluggish than he's ever felt. In an open world, I imagine Sonic flying through forests, running across walls, using his momentum to leap off slopes and fly through the air. But God, not like this. Side note, jumping while you run drains all the momentum from your movement. It's terrible. Going fast has evolved from something you use to create the fun to something that you just use to reach the slow sections faster. Some people might be into this, and that's fine, but for the rest of us, let me introduce you to Hedge Mod Manager. Now, I'm no thinking man, but you gotta know something's wrong when the arguments online are about which momentum mods you should be using, rather than the morality of using them at all. Now just wait until you see how bad it is in Cyberspace. Surviving this long was admirable, but in order to make it through this stage, there's one more horror to surpass. The Island Puzzle. Every island in the game is capped off with an obscure puzzle, except for the last two, and somehow those are less fun. For some fucking reason, this island's puzzle is the most convoluted and complicated thing the game will ever throw at you. Not a joke, nothing else in the entire game is even a fraction as difficult as this. On the Lord himself, I know that some underpaid developer with a functioning IQ snuck an exploit in there just to give us a chance. So far, the game's been pretty hit or miss, which is actually representative of the series. For every Sonic game on Genesis, there's a Master System version. But one thing will always remain true. The soundtrack for Sonic games never fucking miss. Except for that one time. You might lose your dimensional awareness after finishing Sonic Forces, but you better believe your ears got fucked. But like in the good way. I hate to say that so far the soundtrack has been kind of boring. There are a couple of nice tracks, but overall it's just lacking that Sonic the Hedgehog flair that makes these games stand out. It's just... What is that? Frontiers has been less than what I'd hoped up until now, but this track single-handedly resurrects the experience. Between the desaturated landscape and the lack of upbeat songs, you really start to feel for a bit like you're playing a fan game that just has Sonic in it. Sega, all you needed was a little bit of this. Even Team Sonic Racing got this one right. You collect your last Chaos Emerald and you're not really sure what to expect, but you can fucking bet it wasn't this. It's easy to focus on everything wrong with a game, but the moment this plays, you forget it all. All you can do is sit back and enjoy it. This just in, Sega has reportedly created a playable game for the first time in 11 years. Insider reports say that this was possible due to the 11 billion souls of the damned that were offered up in exchange for the ability to make a video game. In other news, will Nintendo ever financially recover from the copy of Pokemon Fire Red that I pirated last week? We'll just have to see. We've been Ass Come News, bringing you the hottest stories as they come. I'm not joking when I say without songs like this, the game probably wouldn't have reviews that are half as good. In a way, I kind of hate that. There's so much wrong with the game, but I can't even make sense of it all because this music is making my brain dumber. All in all, I may not have been enjoying every aspect of the game, but that didn't stop me from playing as much as I could just to hear the next island boss theme. Speaking of which, pop quiz. For a desert-themed video game level, will you choose A, something unique and memorable, or B, Rhea Island has all sorts of new threats like sumo, strider, and shark. Oh, not to mention the unexplained auto-aiming cannons that can de-super your Sonic. My IQ is bleeding right now. The overworld bosses, wide-ranging and varied in their enjoyability. The last island had a few standouts like Squid, which was fun but just took a little too long, and Ashura, who likes to spend its free time showing you the holes in the physics engine. Okay. It's worth mentioning that this is totally an opinion thing. I really wasn't a fan of Sumo or Strider, but for every complaint I've made, there have been 10 other people praising them. Not Shark though. Nobody likes Shark. I believe the real shortcomings here are simply in the core of the game. Most of the bosses weren't that enjoyable to me simply because the combat isn't very good. Also, there was no metalcore in the background. Personally, I prefer the on-rails types of boss fights in Sonic games. I think it fits the character well, and we don't even have to look outside the game to prove that. The Titan fights are 100% spectacle before gameplay, and they are still cock-crunchingly fun. When it comes to the overworld bosses, I found myself using varied moves just for the sake of doing it, but come on. All I needed was the laser move. Fuck it, they even put a skill in there that does all the good combos for you. We're a little off topic, but Rhea Island is probably my favorite one. Whenever I look back on my time spent in Sonic Frontiers, I feel like all my best memories were here. The landscape is fun, the design is eye-catching even though it's just a desert, and Knuckles is a pretty cool guy. My only problem with it is that sometimes it's hard to get to key parts of the map because the landscape is kind of rigid. Also, fast travel is an RNG fishing unlock, so chances are it's not available to you. Sega, I know he's fast, but please, loading screens are preferable to this. They haunt me. Now, in your travels across the outermost perimeter of the map, you can come across a hole. I've heard that falling down this hole and traversing the glowing caverns will award you with fortunes untold. Shall we see?
Oh, hey, Sonic. You come here to fish too?
What the fuck? Tell me how this cat fucking got here. You might not have known that Sonic was such an angler, but one look at him in his most natural habitat and you'll be able to sense his skill. You can catch all assortment of unique species like garbage, frogs, and I'm drawing the line at crocodiles. My favorite part is trading them for progression. That's right, Big's fishing hole can be used to bypass every collectible item in the game. Too bad you can't use it to bypass the dialogue.
So hurry up and get me back to normal. Anything to get you away from me.
You see, I removed the music to make it worse. Between cutscenes, you'll find yourself filling out the map, which is essentially worthless, by completing small puzzles in the overworld. Some of these are pretty fun, like the tile puzzle or the time trials where you race to the top of a tower or something. It's good stuff, but it's contrasted by the number of just strange ones like the hamster wheel. Honestly, looking back, these are really just here to provide a little activity boost through the world, and even though a lot of them are useless time killers to unlock a random assortment of map squares nearby, they did a pretty decent job of keeping me entertained, all things considered. As long as it's not the parrying one. Parrying. Now, parrying is no stranger to the video game. It's a very simple move that is inherently fun, and there is no genre of game where it doesn't belong. And somehow, they fucked it up. What do I do here? If you were like me and still didn't know how to parry by this point, it's time to learn, because this boss fight will tear your ass if you can't. This is where the cinematic nature of combat that I complimented earlier starts to show some holes. This is one of the weaker fights of the game, which is actually a good thing because it gives me an opportunity to actually focus on the problems without getting brain fucked by the insane. The main problem with this fight is that there is just so much going on. Explaining this image to a 90s child Sonic fan would cause them to die. The goal of the fight is to parry missiles back at Wyvern to make an opening and attack. The only problem is that I can't fucking see them. By this point, you'll have figured out the basic gameplay loop of the bosses. You collect 6 emeralds around the island, then the final one is on the Titan. Get to it to become Supersonic, then fight the boss. But Supersonic will not work for free. An esteemed professional will not provide services without due compensation. Ring count is what you should be focused on before rushing into these fights. While ring consumption has always been the trade-off for Supersonic, I feel as though this is the main thing holding all the boss fights back. You're not fighting the boss, you're fighting the clock. And the bosses aren't trying to defeat you, they're trying to hold you off long enough to watch you fall. If you're hit, you don't lose rings or health. You get shot into an annoying recovery animation to waste time. Fighting the clock can be fun, but it's not executed well here. There aren't any stakes. Like I said, I like the fights as interactive cinematics over mechanical challenges, but I mean, would it hurt to have both? Now, Sonic is just a little bit fatigued from all that quality gameplay. Welcome to Chaos Island, where I can't tell if it's ashy or snowy. I see the volcano, but I feel the ice. And also Spellbreak. For all his speed, Sonic still cannot outrun the issues of his own game. I know it seems as though I feel mostly negative about Sonic Frontiers, but I promise you it only gets worse from here. And you can tell his condition is getting worse with every island you complete. It's indicated by the paint. The world and stage design of the game so far has actually been pretty good. Kronos and Ares are both enjoyable to explore, and while sometimes seeming lifeless, I never really ran out of that urge to keep running around and playing. Chaos Island is the reason Yuji Naka's in prison. This island takes all the things that a Sonic level shouldn't have and introduces them to crack. Also, I found a vertical trick spring. I promise I won't abuse this. The land is fragmented, jagged, I don't think there's even a single place to run freely, and jump scare, the 2D sections. This place has given me trust issues. I never know if a spring or launch pad is gonna send me into a shitty 2D section, and I'm afraid at every turn that it'll happen. Damn it! Revealing this spring sends me into a 2D section and finishes next to a launch pad that sends me into another with enemies, wall running, springs, loops, etc. That ends next to dash pads, which send me through another, then into more dash pads that send me into another, which finally puts me right back in the line of sight of the very first waypoint I revealed, conveniently rehidden, causing me to not realize what it was, starting the whole process over again. These sections are constant, and the fact that the ones you have to reveal get rehidden when you leave the area makes it even harder to keep track of what you've done and what you haven't. And trust me, you don't want to accidentally redo a 2D section, because most of the time, once you're in, you're not coming out. Much like the game, because oh my god, they won't stop releasing updates. I wanted to re-record the footage for this video after Update 2 dropped, and as soon as I finished doing it, they announced another. I don't understand how development at Sega works even a little bit, because from where I'm standing, the same guys that sold this for $10 on top of an already $40 game are giving this away for free. Now the video up to this point has been mostly negative, and I like it that way because I have an impure and hateful heart. But even I can't hate what they're doing to this bitch. Sonic Team haven't used their brain cells this ferociously since they asked themselves if it was a good idea to give Shadow a fucking gun. The answer was yes. I liked Frontiers at launch, but as time passed, all I could remember was the stuff that I didn't. Fast forward to today, and it's coming dangerously close to being in my favorites. Not next to my Ultra Kill. I know that most of the opinions in this video are kind of outdated, and that's because I've been working on it for 2 fucking years. Listen, I was busy playing DaVinci Resolve. I'll never be finished with this video because this game will never be finished with me. I'm writing amendments to the script like I'm fucking Congress. They've already fixed most of what I didn't like about the game originally. But for my sake, let's just all pretend it's launch day again, because good God, we haven't even talked about Cyberspace yet. Cyberspace has more fun potential than anything in the game, and somehow it still comes out being one of the worst things I have ever had to experience in my life. The physics in Cyberspace feel like they were programmed by me. I will never be able to understand why it is that they went out of their way to develop unique cyberspace physics that don't work like the ones in the overworld. And all of it for nothing. There was no need to change the movement because aside from the deceleration, Sonic already controlled fine in the overworld. Cyberspace as a concept is actually pretty awesome. It's the perfect way to merge standard Sonic gameplay with the open world. But the way it's done in many ways is just a big miss. Originally I thought that maybe they had 2 teams work on Cyberspace and the open world at the same time, and each one had to develop their own controls. But if that were the case, then Team Cyberspace would have at least had time to make original levels. Guess what? All the Cyberspace stage designs are ripped directly from previous Sonic games. Okay, you caught me. There were like a few original levels. Ironically, they're usually the best in the game because, I don't know, they were designed for the game they're in. I haven't played every Sonic game, so some of the levels were still new to me, but if anything that I had played showed up, I noticed it instantly. The stage design is good, but only because it was fucking stolen from good games. And worse versions too. Levels that were clearly designed with other Sonic games' mechanics in mind feel out of place here. Pair that with the physics and you've got 30 poorly translated levels in a game they weren't made for. There are some levels that are pretty fun, but not a single one gives you the 100% enjoyable experience. Now I can say that the recent updates have improved this incredibly with the speed changes. I actually want to play Cyberspace now, but the biggest shortcoming of Cyberspace that likely can't get fixed in an update are the goals. This is complicated, so let me break it down. The Sledgehog lore has you running through cyberspace and completing levels to obtain vault keys, which allow you to unlock Chaos Emeralds. Every stage has 4 objectives to complete, each yielding 1 key when completed, but they all have the exact same objectives. When you enter cyberspace, you'll be looking to reach the goal, S-rank the stage, finish with X amount of rings, and collect all 5 red star rings. Even one unique challenge for each stage would have been enough to solve this. But on top of the levels not being original, the goals being copy-pasted to each of them like a YouTuber subtitle preset is just cringe. Pretty much any experienced Sonic player can get all 4 objectives in one run for a lot of the stages. So there's hardly incentive to keep playing them unless you're a speedrunner grinding for the lowest time. I'm sure that Sonic Frontiers 2 will happen, and there are a lot of things that could use fixing. They are clearly working hard to do that. But for things like this, you really just have to nail it on the first try. Now, cyberspace is an issue, but it's far from the lowest point in the game. Chaos Island is still the worst thing that humanity has ever endured, and it's not even close to being finished with us. But since I'm a nice guy, I won't make you watch it. Now, don't you think I deserve something nice? Leave a like on the video and your credit card information in the comments below. Our mini trials have brought us a very far halfway and 15 hours into our $60 video game. And if you aren't stimulated by now, don't worry, because you're about to face the wrath of God. Except this time, it's out of his control. Have you ever wanted to commit a crime? We know the devs have. The 4th island of Sonic Frontiers is the 4th island of Sonic Frontiers, and the game makes sure you don't forget it by making it the 1st island of Sonic Frontiers. Literally, like, they are connected. I could walk there if not for the will of God.
You stray from the path.
Rhea Island is the lore zone, and personally I am not interested because I've got enough of that. I'm still debating the year that FNAF 3 takes place with my roommate. Please leave your comments about the year FNAF 3 takes place, and we will use our collective brain to destroy him. Now, there is lore to Sonic Frontiers. In fact, I've heard there's even a story, but I haven't talked much about it because it doesn't matter, and it never will. At the end of the day, we didn't come here for a narrative. I came here along with my brothers in blue to run fast and fuck ass. And god damn it, that is exactly what I will do. Directly up this 9/11 reference. At first glance, Ouranos seems just like another clone of Kronos, and I assure you that you are correct. Your Honor, my client clearly stated that he was on God. This island is home to some of my favorite bosses in the game, like Caterpillar. I gotta tell you, that's not what they look like. And Master Ninja, who is of moderate difficulty, I'm not scared, he's just never known defeat. Additionally, Ouranos features some wonderful set pieces like Elden Bridge, the Whirly Twirly, Yuji Naka's Eternal Damnation, and the Sticky Upside Down Wall. Hey look, there's another. In short, this is where I post my videos from, and they're not becoming funny anytime soon. So join me on my journey of compensation as I go through this gameplay loop one last time. For this excursion, we will be assisted by none other than Sage herself. Like Amy, Knuckles, and Tails before her, we will have the opportunity to observe as she changes from antagonist to kind of a good guy. Rapidly. That's called visual storytelling, my fellow Redditors. Speaking of Reddit, don't get too excited, guys, because this visual is telling me that that is a child. Do not go to the Steam community tab. By this point in the video, you should be wondering what's happening in the story, and that's because I've chosen not to tell you. You could fault me for it, but I don't think it's that bad considering that the game doesn't try to either. If this bothers you, tell Nintendo that hey guys, I made a really funny, hilarious joke here, but in light of recent Nintendo controversy involving emulators and bans, I have to remove it, and I don't know what to fucking replace it with. So I'm replacing it with this fucking plug for my Twitch channel, alright? I'm gonna be speedrunning Sonic X Shadow Generations, and you can watch that if you want. I don't really care either way. The important part is that I'm gonna fucking bust down sexual style on some speedrunning personal bests. Enjoy my fucking video. Can you name the island that each of these pictures come from? Hard to do, isn't it? If you're watching this right now, it's either because you're a Sonic fan or you are a part of the small subsect of people who I begged to watch this over Discord. And if you're a Sonic fan, chances are you've already heard everything there is to say about this island. So for your sake, my sweet, sweet viewer, I'll skip to the part that matters. I'm skipping to the end because I don't want to keep editing this. This part is dedicated to only my sexy subscribers. Supreme is the final-ish boss of Sonic Frontiers, and he makes sure you don't forget it by being the worst fucking boss in the game. I am sorry that I keep doing that, and that's no easy feat considering he shares a game with fucking Wyvern. Some things are constants in this world, and if there's one thing you can count on, it is that at least 80% of the time, Sonic Team will succeed in the wrong fucking direction. Me when I'm in a sucking competition and my opponent is Bissell, Power Force, Helix, Bagless, Upright Vacuum. Even though I spent most of my time here talking about the stuff that I hated, Sonic Frontiers does have redeeming qualities. With the fixed momentum, this is probably the tightest that Sonic's controls have ever felt. The first 2 islands' platforming and exploration was seriously fun. The Titan fights made for some of the most jaw-dropping moments in the series. There is material here for them to build off of. It was just misguided this time around. It's hard to say that a game is great for the 20% of moments that were fun when 80% of them weren't. But credit where credit is due. Most developers would have abandoned this game, but Sonic teams stuck around to fix as much as they could, and I just hope that if they ever do Frontiers 2, they can take the right steps to succeed. Take what was good about this game and expand upon it. If they can do that, maybe they'll make it up there with Ultra Kill after all.
Father, I just wanna tell you, thank you for all that you've given me. I'm really going to miss you. I hope you're not mad at me. Took me time to realize my heart is for what data can't do. Feelings growing deep inside have taught me what it means to love you. I know now that love is beautiful. I know now the reason why these tears fall from my eyes. This is goodbye. I'm happy to have been your creation, to have been your child. Father, I wanted to make you proud. Father, I...
Is that it?